Morning folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and I thought I would do a little project this morning with you before I get started out here in the blacksmith shop. I've got a Mora, a Frost Mora number 311 here, and this is a knife from the 70s that came from the basement at the Mora factory that's in an unfinished state. The blade and the knife have been assembled, and the sheath is in its raw state right now, unstained and unfinished. And the handle has not been final sanded or finished, and it's pretty rough right now. So we're going to go ahead and finish this up, make it fit the sheath well, put a coat of boiled linseed oil on the handle and get it all nice and ready to go. And then we're going to stain the sheath a dark brown and bring this knife back to life. And if you saw the beginning segment of this, I showed the knife up close. It's about a 10-inch overall knife with about a 5-inch blade. It's got a very butcher knife type profile to it, and I like that really well. Scandinavian grind, and this blade is laminated steel, which means it is a stainless over carbon. It's got a carbon center in it that gives you a carbon blade here at the bottom on your cutting edge, and then it's covered in stainless or sandwiched between stainless, the carbon is, so that you have that robustness of stainless steel for corrosion resistance on the outside. And it's a very, very nice knife. It looks really nice. It doesn't quite fit down in the sheath properly right now because it hasn't been final sanded yet. But we're going to take care of all of that on video today. Stay with me. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to make a quick cardboard mask for the blade itself here so that we can work with it without cutting ourselves. And this is just a piece of cardboard box. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular, that's for sure. That we're going to fold over the top of this thing. Just enough to give us a blade cover so that we can manipulate this around a grinder and not have to worry about it. And we'll just cover that with tape. Just fold all that over really good. And we'll just use some of this blue masking type tape here to make a really quick blade cover. Just takes a couple seconds, but it's a whole lot safer when you're manipulating this thing around the grinder to get that blade protected. Doesn't have to be anything fancy at all, just needs to be something that will hold that blade. Just like that. Now we can manipulate that all we want to. We don't have to worry about cutting ourselves. Alright, so we've got a 120 grit J belt here on our belt sander. And this is a Grizzly 2x72 belt sander. It works really, really well, but these J belts allow you to be able to kind of manipulate things and push them into the belt, and the belt will flex. It's not like a really hard, heavy grip belt. So it's really good for shaping work. We use the back side of this thing, of the slack belt, with no platen. It'll allow us to be able to manipulate it a little easier even. Okay, now we'll get some finer grit hand sandpaper and work on it from there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set our knife aside for a minute. We're going to go ahead and stain our leather sheath. And we're just going to use some Phoebings here on that. And this is a dark brown. Comes with an applicator. And we're going to stain the sheath, and then we will coat the sheath after that with fix and wax. Again, this sheath is all raw leather, so it should take this dye pretty well. It may take a couple of coats to get this where we want it. Make sure we get everything covered really well. And we'll put probably at least 2 coats on here of this stuff. And then we will let it dry, and then we'll go ahead and get our fixing wax on here just to coat everything up really, really well. Alright, so while our sheath is drying, now we're going to apply some boiled linseed oil to our handle. It's just as easy to use tissue paper as a rag, and tissue paper is a lot easier to burn when you're done. And you want to apply this boiled linseed oil basically until it quits soaking in. So put a coat on and let it sit. Put a coat on and let it sit. Pretty much until it quits taking oil. Then we'll go over and we'll buff the brass on a buffing wheel. Get everything wiped down on that. So we'll let that dry, and then we'll come back and put another coat of blow on the handle as well. Okay, so one thing you want to make sure of is when you get done with using linseed oil, you take care of the rags properly, burn them, or put them in water so that they don't spontaneously combust as they dry. Now that we've got our sheath dyed, we're just going to come back in here and coat it really, really well with fixing wax. And I'm just going to put it on there heavy. It's a little chilly out here this morning. It's probably only in early, low 60s probably, so it's not real warm yet. But I'll warm this up with my hands just like this and work it into the sheath really, really well. And that's going to give us, number one, it'll give us that vintage look to the sheath, but it will also very much protect this leather. Keep it nice and supple and usable for years to come. And I like fixing wax for this. It works really, really well. I'll make sure that I get the belt loop on the inside, on the outside. Make sure I get the lip of this sheath on the inside, and I just smear it in there, and then working it with my hands. The heat from your hands will work that into the leather really, really well. That's generally what I do, and I do this with all my leather goods, my axe sheaths, everything, even my boots. For the most part, I use this fixing wax on, and it just makes that leather really nice and soft and protects it really, really well from the weather and from moisture and things like that. There we go. That's a beautiful dark brown coated and wax sheath now. Okay, now we just need to wait till our boiled linseed oil dries on our handle good, and we can polish up the brass a little bit with a buffer. And we got a knife that is ready to use, like it was brand new in the 70s. Okay, well, we got her finished up now, and there's our finished knife. We've went ahead and sanded the handle down to make it fit well in the sheath. Finished up everything and got it even nice and close to the brass there like it's supposed to be. Coated it with boiled linseed oil, and then went ahead and buffed the brass a little bit. Coated it with a light coat of oil as well. We've taken our raw sheath, completely stained it a dark brown now, and coated it with a fixing wax. And now we have an ambidextrous sheath in all actuality, because it will go in there for a left-handed person or a right-handed person. And it fits solidly down to the bottom of the sheath like it's supposed to. And it could be used for belt or neck carry. It's not a real heavy knife. So I appreciate you guys joining me today for this video. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.